Tommy and his friends, Chucky, Phil, and Lil, are in Tommy's backyard making an abstract sculpture out of building blocks. Tommy gets one last block on top of a vertical column of blocks by standing on his friends, who have piled themselves up, and Tommy loses his balance and falls off as he just manages to put the block in place. As they all pick themselves up, Lil, getting down off of Phil, comments that Tommy's work is neat. As Phil gets off Chucky, he adds in that it's pretty. Chucky, however, wonders what is, and Tommy says that he calls it Three Babies and a Guitar. As he states the name of his work, it's one tall column of blocks next to a shorter and more abstract arrangement of blocks next to it. Angelica then comes in with a sinister look on her face, walks over to Tommy's work, and asks the four babies, "Oh yeah?" The babies scold. "Well, you want to know what I call it?" She pauses for a brief moment and then answers, "A mess!" and kicks Tommy's creation, sending all the blocks to the ground. Fillmore gasps in shock, and Angelica laughs wickedly and then walks away. As she does so, Chucky, Phil, and Lil stare at her in shock, and Tommy looks down at his destroyed work with a slightly sad look on his face. After a brief moment, the look of Tommy's face changes from one slightly sad to one slightly mad. He walks over to his destroyed work and openly shares his pain, saying he wishes something very bad would happen to Angelica. Chucky and the twins object, but they open up the idea of something bad happening to Angelica. They turn to each other, smile, and say, "Yeah." Phil suggests that perhaps Angelica's hair could turn into worms. Phil suggests that Angelica's nose could get bigger and bigger until she can stop bumping into walls, and he bumps into his sister as he demonstrates. Phil will laugh, but in rage and revenge-thirsty Tommy cut them off and adds in, "No! I wish something really bad would happen to Angelica. Something so bad that, well, I can't even think of it yet." Chucky tries to tell his friend to rethink what he's saying. However, Tommy cuts him off and states, "I mean it, Chucky." Tommy, even thirstier for revenge on his cousin for this drug work, and grabs one of his blocks, holds it high above his head, and shouts at outrage, "I wish that the baddest thing in the whole world would happen to Angelica. I wish, I wish." Flying bugs' wings buzz. "I wish!" And suddenly, at the very pinnacle of Tommy's rage and lust for revenge, a white flash and loud zap frightened the babies away. It was only a bug zapper, dangling from the tree the babies were standing next to, shaped like a clown's head, zapping a bug. Lou, donning garden attire, walks over to the zapper and he remarks, impressed with the zapper, "That mosquito must have been the size of a B-52. This here bug zapper sure does the trick." B-52 bomber is about 160 feet long with a 185-foot wingspan. To the foyer, the Pickles' trademark front door buzzer is sounding as someone is at the door. Stu walks over and answers it, and he sees that it's his big brother Drew, here to pick up Angelica. They say hello to each other and do a distinctive handshake, and Drew asks how Angelica has been. Stu, not knowing what Angelica did to Tommy, remarks that she's just as sweet and perfect and lovable as ever. Angelica innocently dances over and adds in, "That's right, Daddy." Drew remarks, "Well, what else could she be?" He and his daughter lovingly kiss their pointer fingers and touch each other's noses with them. Drew then asks his brother for a favor. Explains that today is the anniversary of his wife's first leveraged buyout, and he gets her a present for the occasion. He sees that he wants it to be a surprise, asks his brother to look after it for a couple of hours. Stu states that it's no problem and he asks what it is. Drew responds it's the most beautiful masterpiece he will ever see, and he goes outside to get his present, shouting from afar, "Wait till you see it, Stu. You've never seen anything like it." Drew carries his surprise gift in with a sheet on top of it. After bragging about it for one brief moment more, he removes the sheet to reveal that his present is a life-size statue of Angelica, posing with her arms held outward and standing on one tippy toe on top of a base. Angelica then stands next to it and attempts to pose like her spitting image, only to fall over. Although Drew and Angelica are very proud of it, Stu doesn't find it as appealing. Apparently uneasy with it in his house for some reason, he suggests they store it outside in the backyard. Drew asks why, and Stu responds, "Well, we've got those rug mites. We won't want them to wreck the base." Stu then picks up the statue and starts carrying it into the backyard. A slightly uncertain and concerned Drew says, "Well, okay, if you think it's safe out there." Stu, not thinking of something that could happen to it, says that he's certain it will be safe. Stu and Drew leave the statue by the back door and walk away. Drew and Angelica then leave, thanking Stu and stating they'll be back later to pick up the statue. To the side of the house, the babies didn't see Stu and Drew carry the statue in the backyard, walk back toward the open backyard from the side of the house. Soon they've been hiding there after being frightened away by the bug zapper, when Chucky tells Tommy that he shouldn't have wished something bad would happen to Angelica. Tommy replies that simply wishing something can't hurt anyone. The babies see the statue of Angelica, not knowing that the real Angelica left with her father, nor where the statue came from. They assume that Angelica turned into it and gasp in shock at this notion. Tommy gets an ashamed look on his face, and he holds his hand near the statue. Chucky then tells his friend with shame, assuming Tommy's vengeful wish turned his cousin into a statue. Look what you've done, Tommy. Look what you've done. Tommy shamefully remarks, I didn't mean to. Chucky rebuttals, yes, you did, Tommy. Remember? Wish that the baddest thing in the world would happen to Angelica. Chucky grabs Tommy by his shirt. And it did, Tommy. It really did. Tommy replies, but I didn't mean for something like this to happen. Phil adds in that Tommy should have thought of that before he made the wish. Phil points out that there's nothing worse than turning into a rock. Will then continues, yep, maybe turning into mashed peas. Phil adds in, or bat drool, and Lil finishes, or mashed peas and bat drool. Phil and Lil laugh, but this doesn't bring cheer to an ashamed and sorrowful Tommy nor their shocked friend Chucky. Tommy tells the statue, I'm sorry, Angelica, then gets down on his knees and adds in, I'm really sorry, and then bows before her, Angelica. Chucky walks over and tells his friends he doesn't think she can hear Tommy. He hits the statue twice and confirms that she's rock solid. Tommy asks his friends what he's going to do, and then turns to see his mom coming with a pile of laundry to hang on the clothesline to dry. Chucky alerts everyone. Uh-oh, better do something fast. As the babies scramble to prevent Dee Dee from finding what they think Tommy did to the real Angelica, a naked Stu, only the top part of him is seen, calls down to his wife from the upstairs bedroom window. Hey, Dee, have you seen my underwear? Dee Dee answers from afar. Have you checked your underwear drawer? As Dee Dee continues to walk over to the clothesline, she says to herself, I swear I love him, but sometimes I think the man couldn't find his nose if he had his finger. Then she sees that the babies have covered the Angelica statue in various garments in an attempt to fool her. As she continues to the laundry, she says, Oh, hi, Angelica. I thought your daddy already came to pick you up. He must be coming back to get you later. You know you're always welcome to stay with us as long as you... Stu then interrupts Dee Dee from the upstairs window and says they still can't find his underwear. Dee Dee sighs, exasperated with her husband, and decides to go up and help him. Coming, dear. After Dee Dee leaves, Tommy tells his friends that they have to hide Angelica before she comes back. Chucky asks, but how, Tommy? She's made of rock. Fortunately, Tommy comes up with an idea. The babies roll a red wagon next to the statue, and they work to tip the statue into the wagon. Chucky gets into the wagon and pulls the statue down, and the rest of the babies maneuver it from the other side so it tips into the wagon. This works, and they fortunately don't break the statue, but it lands on Chucky and traps him in the wagon in it. Chucky gruntingly shouts for help, but Tommy tells him that they must move and hide Angelica before they can get her off Chucky. Tommy then pulls the wagon by its handle, and Phil will push it from behind. As Chucky squirms around while crushed by the statue, states to himself, even when she's a rock, she makes me miserable. As the babies roll the statue toward the side of the house, Dee Dee comes back outside to get back the laundry, relieved that she got her husband's issue under control. Before she can notice what the babies are doing, Stu then asks her like before, Hey Dee, have you seen my socks? A lightly frustrated Dee Dee then walks back inside to help her husband again. Back to the babies, who, working together, manage to lift the heavy statue of the wagon and move into a bush on the side of the house. Lil then states that she kind of likes Angelica the way she currently is. Phil adds in that she can't pick on any of them anymore. Phil will suggest that they keep Angelica the way she is, but Tommy states that they can't leave Angelica the way she is forever. Lil asks why not, and Tommy points out to everyone that Angelica is still their friend, even if she's sometimes hard on them. And he also adds that he and his friends will get in big trouble if the adults find out Angelica turned into a statue. Chucky then asks how they'll fix the situation. Tommy figures that since it was his wish that turned Angelica into a statue in the first place, he just needs to make another wish that Angelica becomes real again. His three friends agree, and Tommy gives it a try by wishing out loud. I wish that Angelica turns back to real. Of course, nothing happens. Tommy then tries again. I really wish that Angelica turns back real. Again, nothing happens. Tommy tries once more, getting a bit teary. I really, really wish that Angelica turns back to real. Once more, nothing happens, and Chucky openly concludes, It's no use, Tommy. Angelica is rock. A rock shall remain. Suddenly, the babies hear Tommy's grandfather Lou coming, and they hide in the bushes. Lou pulls out a pair of clippers, intending to trim the bushes, and Lil feels they're already in trouble now. Lou starts trimming, and he starts to get close to where the Angelica statue is, but he doesn't see it. Just as he's about to sink his clippers into the statue and get a big surprise, Dee Dee calls him from afar and tells him that he has a phone call from a woman named Morgana. Lou then excitingly rushes back inside, giving the babies a chance to move the statue without the adults seeing. Chucky, however, is reluctant to get squashed by the statue again and refuses to help. He's eventually forced into it again anyway, so the babies move the statue with the wagon in the same way they did before, with Chucky getting squished by the statue. They then move the statue off the wagon and into a pile of leaves. All begin to brainstorm on what to try next. Will suggests that they could squirt milk all over Angelica so she gets all messy. Tommy asks how that will help make her real. Will replies that she doesn't know and that she'd just like to do it. Chucky then suggests giving Angelica a bubble bath. Tommy asks how this will help, and Chucky replies that he doesn't know, although he would wash off the milk. Phil then comes up with something. He hypothesizes that he haven't been able to turn Angelica back into a real girl because they weren't treating her like a real girl. Tommy asks Phil to elaborate. Phil relates the situation to the story of Pinocchio and points out that Pinocchio had to learn how to be a real boy before he could actually be a real boy. Will then asks, so we gotta act Angelica as a real girl. And Phil finishes, then she'll be a real girl. Tommy, feeling this could work, says, let's do it. Suddenly, the babies turn to see Tommy's father sitting outside next to the back door in his underwear and an undershirt, holding a rake and calling to Dee Dee, asking her where his old work clothes are, pointing out to her that he wants to rake up some leaves. Tommy, Phil, and Miller are all saying, oh no, as they realize they need to move Angelica once more to avoid the adults finding her. Chucky pessimistically gets back into the red wagon, lies down and tells his friends, okay, push her on me. Much later on, presumably after adults finish all their yard work, the babies have put Angelica's statue into the sandbox and have set up a toy tea set to have a tea party with it. Tommy asks Angelica if she likes more juice, as he holds like a cup of juice next to her mouth and throws it all over her face. Lil, holding a large jar of applesauce, uses the sandbox shovel to scoop some out. Then she offers the statue the applesauce and splatters it all over its face. Of course, this isn't turning the statue into the real Angelica, and Phil points out that his plan isn't working. Tommy then states that he doesn't think the applesauce is going to work and they need to feed Angelica a better type of food. Lil asks, like what, Tommy? Tommy answers, just think, what's Angelica's favorite food? Well, she always trying to trick us into getting for her. What's one thing she'd always eat, even if she was in the mood of broth? Chucky, Phil, and Lil answer, cookies! The baby then go to the kitchen to get some cookies for Angelica. Tommy instructs Chucky to keep a lookout while he, Phil, and Lil climb on each other to reach the cookie jar on the kitchen counter. But no sooner does Chucky reach his post than he spots Stu opening the front door for none other than Drew. He hears Drew state that he couldn't wait to pick up his little angel. Real Angelica is also tagged along, but she's not with her father at the front door, and Chucky thus doesn't see her and doesn't know what Drew really meant by little angel. Just as Tommy grabs a couple cookies from the jar, Chucky rushes over and warns him, starting in panic at first, your Uncle Drew is here to get Angelica. They all scramble out of the kitchen in a great haste, with Tommy dropping the cookies he was holding on the floor, too late to see the real Angelica walk up beside her father and pose like the statue. The babies, still thinking the statue is the real Angelica, rush to get it hidden out of sight again. Tommy has Chucky get in the wagon to catch the statue, and he and his friends push to tip it in it. Unfortunately, this time the babies lose control of the heavy statue and it tips the opposite direction. Heavy statue nearly falls on Tommy, Phil, and Lil. They run out of the way just in time as the statue hits the cold, hard ground and shatters into numerous pieces. We broke Angelica, says a horrified Chucky. Tommy, in sorrow, says to the statue, oh, Angelica, my poor, poor angel. He picks up one of the statue's hands and says, this was your hand, your little hand. Tommy then tosses the hand aside, picks up the head and continues, oh, why did I ever make that wish? Why did I ever say the baddest things? Why did I say the baddest things, or the not so baddest things? Why? But the real Angelica, having walked into the backyard, asks, hey, what are you babies doing? The relieved babies are ecstatic to see that Angelica is okay after all. Rush over to embrace her and give her kisses. Angelica, not wanting any baby germs, brushes them aside and trips on one of the statue pieces. She asks, what are all these rocks down there? And what? But then Angelica realizes in horror that her perfect reaction is rude. Hey, wait a minute, those aren't rocks, they're me. Drew and Stu rush out as Angelica screams me at the broken statue, and Drew screams in horror when he finds his beloved statue is broken into pieces. Stu arrives and asks what the problem is, and Drew rants at his most expensive statues in pieces. Stu calmly states he'll fix it in no time, but Drew's not convinced. Stu has refashioned the pieces, also breaking the head piece up further so the different sections could be placed in different areas, into an abstract deconstructed statue. He calls it the Angelica descending a staircase. Drew calls it a mess, and chronically the same way his daughter called Tommy's work a mess. And Angelica is horrified at the way she now looks and begins to cry, although also getting her comeuppance for destroying her cousin's work. As the babies watch the whole thing from inside the house, Tommy states to his friends, "Well, I guess I learned my lessons. Be careful what you wish for. It might come to true." Chucky adds, "Yeah, somebody you know might turn into a statue." Lil adds, "Or eyeballs." Phil adds, "Or worm guts." Let's finish, "Or eyeballs and worm guts." And everyone begins to laugh. Scene morphs to look like Pablo Picasso's style of artwork.